Hi everyone, I'm Brune Smith and this is my podcast. Hello my friends, welcome back to the podcast for people who feel things differently and who do things differently. As you can hear, I am sick. I have a cold for the third time in 3 months, but I still wanted to show up for this first episode of the week. I do 3 episodes a week, anywhere between 2 and 20 minutes long, and whether or not you have the time to listen to them all, you can subscribe to my weekend newsletter on Substack, where I give you a written roundup of the themes I explored on the podcast each week. I want to thank all of you who have already subscribed in the 2 weeks of existence of this podcast. Truly, what an encouragement. I don't take your attention for granted, and I will do my best to bring you as many things of interest as possible. I also want to thank those of you who have commented on the episodes or the newsletter that's happening on Substack as well. It's always so cool to know what you guys think and to know the things that resonate with you. If you want to subscribe, the link is in the show notes. All right, so today's episode is a follow-up episode to episode 3, which was titled Your Good News Regimen. In it, I was mentioning this fantastic website and newsletter, Future Crunch. I hope you've bookmarked it in your browser or on your phone. I have since discovered 3 wonderful new resources. Number 1, another website and newsletter called reasonstobechearful.world. Since I'm a sucker for good news stories, I just subscribed to their newsletter. We'll see what that brings me. One thing I love about their website is that it is slick and colorful, but not in an overpowering way. Just like on Future Crunch, there are no ads whatsoever, and the pictures are truly amazing. I'm very sensitive to that. I like that the tone of this website is a bit different from Future Crunch, and that the stories seem to showcase a lot of human stories. The categories for the stories on that website, again, the website is called reasonstobechearful.world. The categories are civic engagement, climate plus environment, cities plus towns, culture, economy, education, farms plus food, health, justice, and science plus tech. And so, for instance, under the culture umbrella, you can find an article titled AI is helping Indigenous teens in Brazil keep their mother tongue alive. Or under the cities plus towns category, you can read an article titled The 3D printed affordable housing of the future will be recyclable. And the subtitle for that article is In Maine, an enormous 3D printer is turning natural materials into sustainable carbon sequestering homes. And the pictures in that article show a fantastically designed 3D printed home that makes you think of nature and coziness. I used to work in interior design and furniture and wallpaper and all of that stuff. And so I'm very sensitive to design, and that was just very pleasant to look at. Number two on my list of 3 resources today for you is that Future Crunch has a podcast, and it's called Hope is a Verb. I found it on Spotify, so I guess you can find it anywhere. I can't believe I didn't know about it. And I remember thinking, because I've been a subscriber to their newsletter for years now, and I remember thinking a while ago, it's so stupid that they don't have a podcast. They should have one. And guess what? They started it last year. I just found out about it this morning. So I think there are maybe somewhere around 12 episodes to catch up on. Their episodes are about 30 minutes long. And this morning I listened to their interview of Hannah Ritchie. She's the author of the book. That's resource number 3 for today. So number 3, the book by Hannah Ritchie that just came out, titled Not the End of the World, How We Can Be the First Generation to Build a Sustainable Planet. Let me repeat that, just because we learn through repetition, and in order to counteract all the pessimistic news stories we hear all day long. I think we do need to hear optimistic things several times before they sink in. So the subtitle of her book, Not the End of the World, is How We Can Be the First Generation to Build a Sustainable Planet. I am so excited for this book. I had already put it on my list, and hearing the author speak confirmed that I want to get my hands on it at some point. I try to not rush myself with books because I don't have the time to read them all, and also I have time. It doesn't matter if I read it next week or in 5 years. For now, I can listen to interviews with her, and just knowing that her book and her work exist adds water to my hope bucket. I just came up with that. Is that a thing? A hope bucket? I guess it is now. I guess the other bucket would be the despair bucket. And that makes me want to be mindful as I go throughout my day of the things I engage with, whether it's the things I listen to or watch or even speak myself, or just my own thoughts. And I want to ask myself as often as possible, am I pouring into the despair bucket right now? We always have a choice. This podcast is for and about people who feel and do things differently, and I want to highlight the work of people who go against the grain. So Hannah Ritchie is definitely one of them. What is something you, my dear listener, feel like you do or feel differently from a lot of people? You can keep your answer to yourself, of course, but I'd love for you to leave a comment under this episode on Substack. The link is in the show notes, and share it with us. What is something you do differently? What is something you feel differently? Let us know. Until next time, my friends, let's keep doing things differently.